So, have you ever made a New Year's resolution? You're full of hope and excitement, only to find yourself right back at square one by, February? Yeah, if that sounds familiar, you are definitely not alone. Today, we are going to dive into James Clear's Atomic Habits, a book that honestly might just change the way you think about change itself. It's the big question, right? We've all asked it. Why is it so incredibly hard to make good habits stick? We start off with the absolute best intentions, but somehow we always seem to slide back to where we started. But what if the problem isn't really us? Our first instinct is to blame ourselves, to say we just don't have enough willpower. But what if that whole idea is just wrong? Atomic Habits makes a really compelling case that the problem isn't you, it's the system you're using. So let's start with the first big idea, the 1% rule. Okay, so the first major mental shift here is to stop thinking about some massive, earth-shattering change. Instead, the focus is on tiny, just 1% improvements. It almost sounds too simple to work, doesn't it? But its real power, its magic, is in how those tiny little gains compound over time. Let me tell you a quick story to show you what I mean. Back in 2003, British cycling was, they were basically a joke. In 100 years, they'd won a single gold medal. Then they hired a guy named Dave Brailsford, and he had this really radical idea. What if they just tried to improve absolutely everything by a mere 1%? Brailsford called this the aggregation of marginal gains. And as you can see, they looked for these tiny improvements in the most unexpected places you can imagine. We're talking redesigning bike seats for more comfort, sure, but also hiring a surgeon to teach the athletes how to wash their hands properly to avoid getting sick. No detail was too small. And the results? Well, they were absolutely staggering. Those tiny, almost invisible improvements all added up. They compounded into total dominance. The British team started racking up Tour de France wins and a whole pile of Olympic gold medals. It's the perfect proof. Tiny changes, when you put them all together, lead to truly remarkable results. So, okay, tiny changes are the how. But here's the next critical piece of the puzzle. It turns out it's not actually about what you want to achieve, it's about who you want to become. This slide here lays out the shift in thinking perfectly. Instead of focusing on an outcome, like losing 20 pounds, you focus on your identity. You're not just trying to read more, you are becoming a reader. Every single page you turn is like a little vote you cast for that new identity. Take the story of Brian Clark. He was a lifelong nail-biter, tried everything to quit, and nothing worked. Then, one day, he just decided to get a professional manicure, and something clicked. For the first time, he started to see himself as someone who takes pride in their nails. And that small shift in his identity, that was all it took. All right, you ready for the big plot twist? Because this is where it gets really, really interesting. We've talked about tiny changes and building an identity. But the secret to making all of it actually stick isn't about having more willpower. It's about designing a better environment. Let me give you a truly stunning example of this. During the Vietnam War, a shocking number of American soldiers, we're talking over 15%, became addicted to heroin. It was a massive national crisis. But what happened when those soldiers came home is what's really mind-blowing. Just take a look at these numbers. For a typical heroin user coming out of rehab, the relapse rate is a heartbreaking 90%. But for the soldiers who came home from Vietnam, it was just 10%. 9 out of 10 of them just stopped. Why? Because their entire environment changed. All the cues that triggered their addiction were suddenly gone. And this, right here, this is the big aha moment of the whole book for me. The people we think of as having amazing self-control, they're not heroes with superhuman willpower. They're just better architects. They design their lives so they don't have to use willpower nearly as often. And the great news is you can be an architect too. You just have to make the cues for your good habits super obvious. You want to work out in the morning? Don't just think about it. Lay out your workout clothes the night before so it's the first thing you see. Want to eat a healthy breakfast? Put the skillet on the stove before you go to bed. You're just priming your environment for success. Okay, so we've designed our environment, we've set the stage for success, but how do we make sure we keep showing up day after day? Well, the secret is to make it satisfying. See, our brains are basically hardwired for one thing: instant gratification. That's the problem with a lot of good habits, right? The reward for going to the gym, better health, is way off in the future. We need to find a way to get a little hit of satisfaction right now. Let me tell you about a guy named Trent Dyersmid. He was a brand new stockbroker, and he had this huge, daunting task: make 120 sales calls every single day. Talk about a grind. So he came up with this really clever way to make it feel satisfying. Every morning, he would put 120 paper clips in one jar, and he'd have a second, empty jar right next to it. After every single call he made, he would physically move one paper clip from the full jar to the empty one. And he didn't stop until that first jar was completely empty. Each one of those paper clips moving over was a tiny win. It was this perfect visual measure of his progress. It's such a simple but powerful idea. Find a way to make your progress visible. Whatever you do, don't break the chain. You know, the psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." And that's really what Atomic Habits is all about. It's about becoming aware of all those tiny, invisible forces and routines, and finally becoming the architect of your own life. So I'll leave you with this challenge. What is the one small, tiny, 1% change you can make right now? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. What's your 1%? Thanks for joining me on this little journey through Atomic Habits.